Top five, top five, top five.
So topical back with another video. I'm Strange Wayne Kia's Nate. Today we're doing top 5 Amazon original Prime originals because Uncle Frank's coming out. Coming out for the holidays, old Uncle Frank.
Nice.
I guess it goes both ways because he's gay, but it all works. But he's going to tell you how our top 5s work.
So he's going to start with his 5 and 4. I'll do my 5 and 4, 3, 2, 3, 2. We'll trade off number ones. We also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means if we both have the same film on our list, but one person has it 2 spots or higher, they'll call it Zemeckis, and we won't talk about it till we get to it on their list.
My number 5 is You Were Never Really Here. Joaquin Phoenix movie. Very Taxi Driver-esque. It has that emotional depth. It has that, like, the world's not ending, but because it's a child sex ring, it's still a very important cause, so we don't need the world to end for our investment to be very high. And honestly, my investments were higher for this movie more than it was for most of those The World's Gonna End movies.
That's right, I said it.
And Joaquin Phoenix, excellent performance, a lot of depth, a lot of good camera shots. Very good movie top to bottom, very artsy film too. Have you seen it?
I'm not.
That's on Amazon Prime, obviously, because that's what the list is about. So you should go and watch it today or tomorrow. Now, number 4 is going to be... This is when the list gets very hard because it's like, damn, these are all really good movies. My number 4 is... Not saying my 5 wasn't, but Late Night.
That is my number 4.
That film is good.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest late night talk show fan.
Yeah.
But this, like, I wanted to watch a late night talk show after this because it's so entertaining, the inner workings of it.
And, like, I feel like it also points out enough of the, like, tropes of late night talk show. Like, the form, like, monologue.
Yeah.
Sit down, play, like, have a guest, play some silly game. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny. You have literally, like, the, like, whitest cast ever. And then we're going to throw in...
Mindy Kaling.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just like, let's spice things up.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's very good. The reason why it's number 4 on my list, not higher, I thought a little cheating thing. I was like, it's fine. But it was like, it's a small nitpick for me, which set it back a few on my list.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really good. And, you know, I love that, you know, it's a, like, female written and female driven film. And maybe it's just because of that aspect, it was harder for me to just emotionally connect. Not that I didn't have an emotional connection with it, I definitely did. It just didn't, like, hit me or, like, stand out as much as some of the other movies, but I still remember it very well. And I also really love Emma Thompson, and I thought it was really good.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
Bro, this was like, I'm pretty sure I'm on, like, top 5 or top 10 of that year. It was, like, on the list very high.
Yeah.
Very good movie. What's your 5?
So my number 5, I definitely feel like it's a personal one because I've heard a lot of people complain about how slow this movie is. But number 5 for me is The Report.
It's a good movie. I liked it.
It's just such
a little slow though.
And I just love movies like that. I don't mind the slow burn, like the Aaron Sorkin-esque, like, political thriller type movie. What this one was about is something that I care a lot about. And it bothers me that, like, we still just don't talk about the overwhelming evidence of Russia's involvement in things. And, like, sorry, I'm thinking of a different movie. But, like, the fact that, like, the government did the stuff that they did. I'm glad I remembered that before I just kept talking about it, though. But it's just like, yeah, why are we just going to gloss over the fact that, like, we treated people like this and just glossed over it?
Yeah.
And, like it's one of those things. You know why I don't think this film is super popular? Because this film is anti-patriotic, and it points out some things that America did wrong that we need to just openly take responsibility for, and not just keep trying to bury. And that stuff drives me crazy because I do think we're a great nation, and I think that we could be a lot greater if we weren't so arrogant that we couldn't just admit that, like, we have royally fucked up in the past, and also very recently in the past. Adam Driver is one of my favorite actors. He does great, and I really enjoy it. And then my number 4 was also Late Night.
Yeah, The Report, we talked about it before. I was like, there's 6 that possibly will make my list. That was my number 6.
Yeah.
I looked at my list. For me, obviously, we talked about this before. Rewatchability is huge for me.
Yeah.
15 years, I'm going to watch it again. I'm like, that's a really good fucking movie. But until then, I remember it's about waterboarding, not about Russia.
No, you're correct. I was thinking of a different movie.
But My number 3 is The Big Sick. Again, this was like one of my favorite films of that year. It made my top 5 list. Is it on your list?
It was my number 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, I love this movie so much. I love stand-up comedy. I love how they mixed that, spliced it in there with the, like, getting to know the parents. And then it doesn't do the typical movie thing. I come out the coma and we fall in love. It's like, no, I didn't know you.
Much more realistic than
I
that,
didn't know you. And it took that real take, and they're starting over. And he has all these feelings for her. So, like, the movie just gets deeper and deeper as you go on. And I love it. It's funny. Ray Romano. I'm glad to have Ray Romano back. Those movies great.
Ray Romano is definitely a bright spot in that film. I mean, the movie's good.
I mean,
it really is.
all the actors are.
Yeah,
Like,
I know, but
very
like
good movie.
Ray Romano is still just.
Yeah, everybody loves Raymond,
Yeah.
right? My number 2 is Guava Island.
That's my number 3.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I also thought it'd be your number 1. I love this movie to death. This runtime is perfect. I love, like, before this, I'm a big rap hip hop fan. Childish Gambino, he's obviously in that community because of the stuff, the work he did before this. And these songs, I was like, it's all right. This Is America, that was all right. The song he came out afterwards, I was like, not really for summertime. Not really for me. I watched this movie and I liked those songs because the movie was so good.
Nice.
I love how, like, Rihanna, she didn't, I wasn't thinking that's a singer. I was like, oh man, like, really good performances. I love the uniqueness, the realness, the down to earth story for people in that country probably go through. Like, it's probably something similar, pretty normal.
Right.
So it was like going on vacation. You know what I'm saying? This movie's great. It was
That's
such
a heavy vacation.
It was such a breath of fresh air to, like, sit down and not be stuck there for 2 hours, to enjoy these characters, to be emotionally involved, and to have that payoff so soon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Great. Excellent movie.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree about the runtime. That was just a sweet spot for that movie. The runtime was
Perfection.
I love musicals. The music in this was great. Like, the characters, the setting was gorgeous. Like, it really did suck you in, make you feel like you were there. And, like, the message of it as well, you know, just like all these people, like, being oppressed by this, essentially a warlord. I mean, like, who's just controlling all these aspects of their life. And, like, you know, the idea of, like, standing up against stuff like that, I think is just really important. So I love the message of this movie. The characters, their little love story, like, the support that they get from each other is beautiful. Obviously, it has an incredibly heartbreaking ending.
Yeah.
But it wasn't fruitless because it just really pounds home, like, the message of that film.
Like, you still kind of get, like, a nice bow at the end, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. But it's like, yeah, it's enough to, like, give you that, like, a good feeling that, like, a sacrifice was made, but not in vain.
Like,
So
I remember watching that movie for the first time. I was so emotionally invested. I was, like, crying because Gambino, spoiler alert, dies. And then I stopped crying, and then the town's just celebrating him.
yeah,
And, like, in my head, from, like, the small bit I learned from this character in the 40 minutes, was, like, that's how he would have wanted it.
yeah.
And then
by
it was like,
skipping work.
yeah, and I was crying again, but there was happy tears. So, very good movie.
Yeah.
What's
for
your
sure.
number 2?
So my number 2 is Manchester by the Sea.
That was, like, 7.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna watch this 15 years from now, but that's a great fucking
Yeah,
movie.
and, like, you know, I guess we just value rewatchability a little bit different. This is not a rewatchable movie.
Not at all.
That movie sucks. And not in like, not the movie sucks, but, like, the way that movie makes you fucking feel sucks. But the fact that it just, like, evokes that strong of an emotional reaction from me just shows how heavy it is. I love the cinematography. It has, you know, one of my personal favorite character actors of all time, and Kyle Chandler in it, which automatically gives it a boost. But Casey Affleck's phenomenal. Like, the whole cast is freaking great, man. Like, everybody's their own character. It has its, like, funny moments because of just, like how Bostonian these dudes are, and just like, fuck you, hug it out.
Makes sense.
Lucas Hedges, one of the few, like, not A24 movies he's in, but he still kills it.
Yeah.
And he still plays, like, that same character. So I just really love that relationship. And, like, you know, a lot of movies that are, because this movie is really about addiction and, like, the pain that it causes other people and yourself. A lot of other movies that are about addiction, they do have this, like, sort of nice bow on the end. where it's like, oh, look, we're on the road to recovery. This movie ends with him literally being like, I can't fucking beat it. And like, that's like a harsh reality that, like, I think people need to see that, because for a lot of people with addictions, like, recovery never stops. Like, you're constantly like having to fight this like demon that is developed in you now. And so I think that that's just a really something I've always really appreciated about this movie, is that it didn't just put this nice bow, but it also wasn't completely hopeless. Like, he was making better decisions. He made that decision for Lucas Hedges' character because he knew that he couldn't raise him while struggling with what he's struggling with. So like, it shows that just because it is a continuing thing, it doesn't mean that your life is over. You just have to like put yourself in situations where you can continue to fight. And that takes priority in certain situations. So it's a really good movie.
Clearly, no debating.
My number one, a lot of things you said relates to this movie. It's a really good movie, as he said last. It also has Lucas Hedges in it, and it is Honey Boy.
That is also my number one.
This is one of my favorite movies, honestly, ever. Probably is
Wow.
going to get in that list. The same with mid-90s. These movies, another Lucas Hedges film. These films, just like I've been watching them so much, and maybe it's just like the time period where I'm in my life, but there's just like, man, they're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good.
For sure.
And this is kind of like, this one's kind of like mid-90s in the tone. It's politically not correct, and I kind of like humor like that. It doesn't offend me because I know what I'm watching. You know what I'm saying? So Shia LaBeouf in this movie, he's a lunatic, and I love every minute of it. And to get his story out through that, him playing his dad, just adds so much contextual depth to it.
Yeah.
That the film doesn't show. But like once you read it or read it before, or whatever, it gives a whole new light to the film.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of times flashbacks doesn't really work super well, because it's just like, all right, we need to get exposition out this way, or throw a flashback in there. This one works perfectly. Everything they do in this movie is for a reason. It's very emotional, has levity when it needs levity. It's such a good movie. It makes you think. It makes you feel bad for celebrities because you don't know what the fuck they're going through.
Yeah,
this guy is on a fucking Disney Channel show. He's living in a hotel across the street from a really hot hooker.
That's true. Yeah, you know, they don't even necessarily feel like flashbacks to me, because I feel like we spend at least a little bit more time with like the young version than we do the older version. So it really just feels like two simultaneous stories that just like are constantly like crossing like emotional threads with each other. But yeah, like
Technically flashbacks.
this movie, yeah, I mean, you're right.
Obviously,
I really love that about it, because like both of the stories that are getting told are all just leading up to that, like that one point, right? But then you throw in the fact that how personal this story really is to Shia LaBeouf. And like, I mean, I think that takes a fair amount of guts to just kind of like put your life out there like that.
Yeah.
Because even though this story really was about like him reconciliating a lot of his relationship with his dad, he still made a movie that showed how awful his dad was. And anyone who has any sort of like, you know, semblance of emotional depth is going to be like, that dude is not a good father.
Like, I like his dad because he's a lunatic.
As a character. But as a real person and a father,
like,
no.
In this movie, he makes fun of his son. Like he physically abuses him in a few scenes, but the verbal abuse is like so creative. Like, I've never heard anyone else roast and make fun of someone for the sound of their piss. like it has one of my favorite lines in it where he's just like, not the shoestring line, but the line where he's like, man, your dick's so small, you piss on your balls. Like, that's awesome. I tell people that all the time.
Yikes.
But
not to glorify verbally abusing your child, because it is still indeed verbal abuse.
Let me put some. I'll say it to my friends, and they say mean shit back.
So it's okay to verbally abuse your friends, but not your son.
Well, you verbally abuse me all the time, but
Shut up.
I don't care.
No, my favorite scene in that movie is when he's at the rehab place and he has that flashback to his dad telling him what's inside at the center of a chicken shit. And then he's like, it goes to current him and he like uncrumbles chicken shit and finds out that it's just more chicken shit. And like this look on his face, it's like it's like that was his moment of realizing that my dad is full of crap.
No, his dad is the chicken shit. Like, deep down, there's not a person I love. He's just more shitty. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, that's pretty much the same thing, essentially.
Yeah, I guess so.
But it's like, because when he was a kid, he believed all this crap his dad told him.
Yeah.
And, like, now as an adult, he's like... But it's like the fact that he's disappointed when he gets there, because he's smiling the whole time he's pulling it apart, and then when he gets to the middle of it, it just, like, his whole mood flips. And it's literally, like, this realization, because he still fucking, like, believed that to an extent as a 20-something-year-old. And then finding, like, it's just like a turning point. And, like, I really love that movie.
I would also really love it. I don't want to see a sequel to it, but I would love it for there to be a documentary. Because if you see at the end and you watch interviews, like, Mel Gibson was supposed to play his dad. That's how his dad signed the contract for his likeness to be in the movie and whatnot. Yeah. It was really Shia LaBeouf, so he lied to his father. But they have a relationship now.
Yeah.
Like, what is that like?
Yeah.
Is that why he's smoking weed during the Dazed and Confused, like, reunion cast reading or whatever it was, where he was just blazed out, missing scenes and stuff? Like, the dude has a very interesting life. He's a phenomenal actor, and I would love to get inside his head more, and I think a documentary would be great to see that.
That would be cool.
The lunacy. But tell us down below, what's your favorite Amazon Prime original? Personally, we talked about this before. I would take this list and put it over anything Netflix and Hulu's done. Amazon got my
pound for pound. I agree wholeheartedly.
best streaming service out. But tell us that down in the comment section below as well. Scroll back up, hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe.